Hi, everybody. Welcome back to CN Live here on NRATV. I'm Bill Whittle, sitting in for your host, Colion. He should be back tomorrow. And we live in an age of miracles and wonders. And for some reason, when we don't get the miracles right on demand, we all get kind of a little bit like dismayed. We had Professor William Jacobson with us for a few moments there on Skype. He was coming in with sound and picture. It looks like some kind of connection problems, but we've got him on sound anyway, so we'll be able to at least hear what he's thinking. So, Professor Jacobson, you still with us?
I am with you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Thank you very much.
Okay. Great. I think
let's
the
talk
Russians
about
hacked our phone call.
yeah, yeah, that's right. They hacked our phone call. They hacked my water supply. They hacked everything. These Russians, darn them. Professor Jacobson, let's talk about what we saw on Capitol Hill today.
Yes.
I think Trey Gowdy is one of the. You could count the defenders of this country in terms of the Congress. I think on one hand, and when I watch Trey Gowdy, I've got hope for the country. Gowdy not only understands when other parties abuse their power, but Gowdy also understands the amount of power that he has as a congressman and the duties of Congress. I think he's an exceptional man. He was basically questioning James Comey today, FBI Director James Comey, and it looked to me, Professor Jacobson, that Trey Gowdy was maneuvering for the same kind of airtight arguments that he's made in the past. Do you think James Comey's in some trouble here?
Well, I don't know if James Comey is in trouble, but there does seem to be some inconsistencies. For example, he says that he's very technical when he talks that there was no wiretap and there was no court order. I think the real question is, did any sort of conduct or conversations or communications involving anyone from the Trump campaign come under surveillance in any way, whether intended or not? I don't know if we got an answer to that. I think that also Trey Gowdy was focusing very much on the issue of whether, there might be that the fact that there's no there's no evidence really of any wrongdoing by the Trump campaign or anything like that. So I think he was trying to, within the limitations of what Comey would testify to. So whenever Gowdy tried to get anything specific, he was met with, well, I can't mention that because it's an ongoing investigation. But Comey was willing to put it out there that there is this investigation and it includes, members of the Trump team. So I just think he was trying to get as much as he could, but it was very difficult. But I don't know that Comey's in trouble.
I've seen Trey Gowdy speaking to FBI agents before, basically. It might have been Jason Chaffetz, for that matter, one of these two guys, who basically ran into the same kind of stonewalling that you're talking about just a moment ago. Well, this is an ongoing investigation, or this is sensitive material. And they basically said, we're the Congress of the United States of America. We don't get information based on how you think we deserve it. We get to see everything. I remember Jason Chaffetz saying that exactly. Do you think that there will be a chance to sort of break through this sort of, this FBI's sense of just sort of legal coverage and sophistry to some degree? Well, nobody was ordered, but did it happen? Do you think they've got the power to get through that FBI's kind of shield, which they'll often use by saying, well, that's classified, can't talk about that?
I don't know. I think time will tell on that. And I think the last time was on, you and I spoke about the fact of how unfair this whole proceeding is to Trump and the current administration, because it insinuates that there's something wrong that happened. But when you try to ask them, well, what is it that you're claiming is wrong? Oh, we can't talk about that. So minds immediately, and Democratic minds and mouths, immediately go to worst-case scenarios.
Right.
So that, I think, is a very bad situation.
Well, here's a simple question for you, Professor. Why is James Comey still the director of the FBI? I mean, the left doesn't trust him. They believe that he sabotaged Hillary Clinton's campaign, basically in Trump's pocket. Conservatives don't trust him because they've seen all of these accusations of Russian interference that didn't have any basis to them. He says no wiretapping was ordered, but that doesn't mean that some kind of surveillance wasn't done. Why is a man who doesn't seem to be trusted by either side of the aisle continue to be the director of the FBI?
Well, I think the concept is that he's supposed to be independent. He's not supposed to necessarily be liked. The question is whether he's doing a proper job. And that's a different question than whether people like him or not.
Okay, fair enough. But I saw I saw, and I'm sure you did too, and Legal Insurrection's in fact, been a real leader in this. Going back to the fall when we were looking at the Hillary Clinton email scandal, and we basically saw James Comey make about an hour-long case against Hillary Clinton, basically saying she did everything that she was accused of. He used the legal equivalent of gross negligence for her handling of the information. He basically tried a case for an hour. And then when it was over, he said, however, we just don't think we're going to recommend bringing charges. How do you explain that other than partisanship or some kind of political pressure? Certainly, without question, people like Rudy Giuliani said, my God, he's got enough evidence for 4 convictions. Hello, are you with us? Well, just because I don't get an answer doesn't mean I can't ask the question, right? I mean, that's really kind of the fun of the whole thing. Listen, I think this whole thing comes down to what we were talking about before. We have
Yeah, I think, I'm sorry about that. Yes, I think the point is that nobody really knows what's up with him. He put out that letter 11 days before the election. Then he kind of rescinded it 2 days before. It's just a very strange conduct. I can't attribute bad motives because I just don't know enough about him, but it is bizarre conduct. And now he's put it out there that there's an investigation, which has been reported for months and months and months. But he won't tell you anything more about it. We're left to congressmen who get briefings saying that there's no proof of collusion, but Comey won't say that. So it's a bad situation because the investigators for the government, the FBI and the other services, have so much power. They can't just leave it hanging out there that there's an investigation and that it involves people from the campaign, and then they're not going to tell you another thing about it. That whole scenario is a very bad scenario.
Bizarre is the word, Professor. I mean, bizarre is the word because, again, the clearest example I saw of just inconsistent behavior on the part of James Comey was when he comes in. Listen, if he had decided politically that Hillary Clinton was not going to face charges, then the press conference announcing that would have taken 20 seconds. He would have said something to the effect of, ladies and gentlemen, after a careful review of all the evidence, we found a few significant breaches of Hillary Clinton, but nothing to suggest that she broke the law in any way whatsoever. End of the discussion. But he comes out and makes an hour-long case of all the things that she did and all of the statements that she made. And then Gowdy interrogates him, and Chavez as well, saying, Secretary Clinton said that this didn't happen. Did this happen? Yes. Secretary Clinton said that this didn't happen. Did this happen? Yes. And anybody, forget what side of the aisle you're on, if you believe in reason and just listening to what people are saying, you can't square those two. There's something going on with this guy that doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree with those sentiments. I think the question is what's going on, and that I don't know, because he did this whole, as you mentioned, he essentially convicted her in the first 20 minutes of his press conference and then announced, when he had convinced everybody she should be prosecuted, he announced that no reasonable prosecutor would bring charges. So I don't really know what's going on with him, but something wrong is happening here because he's allowing these insinuations to go forward and allowing the speculation to go forward. He should just say nothing. He should have come to Congress and said I can't tell you a thing.
There you go. That's right.
He puts enough out there to feed the fire.
You know who I'm reminded of, and this may not be a fair comparison. I'd like your opinion on this. I'm a bit reminded of Marcia Clark during the O.J. Simpson trial. And the reason I'm reminded of her is because there was a person who, and Judge Ito as well, both people suddenly found themselves after a lifetime of basically, just sort of nuts and bolts government work. Both of them found themselves to be international celebrities. And I think it severely compromised both Marcia Clark's prosecutorial abilities and Judge Ito's ability to remain an impartial judge. And I think sometimes somebody like James Comey may think that the entire future of the Republic is based on how he's going to play this and how he's going to walk it through the labyrinth. And I just don't believe him anymore. And that's a problem.
Well, he's damaging the credibility of the FBI, and whatever the investigation is going to be is severely damaged. So I think that's a downside as well. Of course, everybody's twisting based on what you like politically. The Democrats, who for weeks and months said that he was, he ruined the election for them, et cetera, he's not trustworthy, he shouldn't stay on as FBI director, now love him. And Republicans the opposite. And the point is, the FBI director shouldn't be the center of everybody's attention. He has managed to make himself the center of attention. Everybody is hanging on his next word, his next appearance in Congress. And maybe you're right. This is somebody who, while he hasn't been a behind-the-scenes prosecutor. I mean, he's had some major positions. He's never been involved in anything like the Hillary email scandal during the campaign and the Trump, Russia, if you want to call it, scandal or allegations. Those are just at such a different level. He may just not be equipped to handle it. And I think you're absolutely right. You get these people like Marcia Clark who they're just not prepared. It's like going from, AAA ball to the World Series final game, and you're just not prepared for it. And it may be he's just not prepared for it from a public relations or a media interaction basis.
Mm-hmm. I think that might be exactly it. I don't know. I think we're running out of excuses. Professor Jacobson of Legal Insurrection has been joining us by phone. Thank you very much for being with us again today, Professor Jacobson. We really appreciate your insight on these things.
Okay, take care.
Yeah, it's possible that James Comey is going through the same thing that I thought an excellent man named David Petraeus went through. When I found out that he was in trouble, I was shocked. And when I found out it was because he was emailing a woman 40 times a day, I was destroyed. But sometimes fame and recognition will do that to you, even the very best of people. This is CN Live on NRATV. I'm Bill Whittle, sitting in for Colion Noir. We'll be back right after the break.